Every time I see videos of Pokemon card scalpers, the comment that repeatedly gets posted over and over and over again on these is that they should get a real job. And I agree. However, the idea that scalpers should get a real job heavily implies that they don't already have one. But it's not a big mystery as to why people might come to that conclusion. Because after all, if you're employed and you have a job, how can these people possibly wait overnight in front of a Walmart, sometimes exceeding 24 hours, on a random Tuesday afternoon? The average person visualizes like 99% of scalpers as exaggerated caricatures. Unemployed, smells like shit, loners, waste of oxygen, greedy, probably out of shape, gets no bitch, every bad thing you can think of. At this point, I've interacted and trained tens of thousands of resellers, and by the ways, I'm going to be using the word resellers and scalpers pretty much interchangeably. They're just normal people from all walks of life. So yes, most of them are employed. They have jobs or they're students. In fact, many of them have entire families, wife and kids and all. And sure, some resellers are unemployed and just resell all day, but this caricature that people envision, effectively painting this side hustle with a broad brush, I think is a little unfair. Obviously, these freaks do exist. We see videos of them all the time. Shout out to PokeStreets for showing how insane some of these people could be.
I told you leave it like that. I told you leave it like that.
But the reason why it seems like every scalper is like this is because for Pokemon releases where everyone is cordial, respectful, the drop goes smoothly, which by the ways are probably mostly still scalpers, just that they're not absolute maniacs, no one's gonna record that. And if they did, it's not really gonna get views unless you're like a famous YouTuber or something. It's not gonna get attention, no one's gonna watch it. And that's why it seems like 90% of the footage that you see of scalpers are just them making fools out of themselves. Because these crazy instances rank better in social media algorithms. It's like that saying, watching a train crash but you can't take your eyes off of it. Admittedly, it is very entertaining to watch these people, as sad as it is. To give you an analogy, around 15 years ago, if I asked someone to envision, how do you picture someone that plays video games and likes anime? Someone might describe them as out of shape, weirdo, ugly, antisocial, and so forth. But now that it's more accepted, the reality is that people who enjoy these hobbies are just normal people. Sure, there are outliers that make them look really, really bad. Some of them are proper weirdos. But the same can be the case with any community or profession. Phantasmal Flames officially released a few days ago. Therefore, a lot of my Walmart pre-orders started to come in. And we also have a bunch of older online orders that started to come in as well. So we gotta unbox like a bajillion things. And then we're gonna see how much we can sell them for. We actually still have a lot more product on the way. I'm still waiting on orders from Target and Pokemon Center. However, this is a lot of product already, so I kind of want to get all of this out of my apartment, so let's get to selling these. I worked out the numbers with my buyer, and from this I will profit a total of $1,108.19. Here's the breakdown on the screen. And even if you do factor in the monthly cost of the botting setup, which by the way is good for an entire month rather than just a couple of drops, this is still insanely good. And I pretty much made all of this money with barely any time or effort. The online drops where I bought these from maybe took around 40 minutes, and between unboxing and packing the orders, it took around a couple of hours. And on average, I profit around $2,000 to $4,000 a month on reselling alone, and that's after all of the bot expenses. People in my position might be tempted to do this instead of clocking into a job because it sounds like you could just work 3 hours a week, more or less around how much time I personally spend reselling, around 3 to 5 hours a week, and then just chill the rest of the time. But here's why that's probably a bad idea. It's not just Pokemon cards. Every single week, there are tons of collectibles that you can resell. Pokemon cards at the moment just happen to be one of the most frequent and the most profitable. Nevertheless, your income would depend on a ton of factors that you just can't control. Number one, the collectibles market, how many releases there are in a given week, what the stock numbers are like, efficacy of bots, because yes, sometimes bots just absolutely flop and do not work, and luck, because at the end of the day, there isn't enough to go around for everyone. So it is possible you just get very unlucky, even if you know exactly what you're doing. Now, if you're in a cook group community like Polar Chefs, we have a ton of methods that basically allow you to make money out of thin air. Here's an example. We're partnered with a company that connects Amazon vendors who are willing to give away their products for free in exchange for a product review. So here's how it works. You would buy the product from Amazon. Let's say the product costs $100. Then you give them a product review, and then the Amazon vendor would refund you $100 via PayPal. So you give them $100, they give you back $100. So effectively, you get the product for $0, but you get to actually keep the item. So let's say this is a $100 item that you paid $0 for. You can then sell that item on eBay. And let's say you sell it for $80. Effectively, you made $80 appear out of thin air. And if you have any free time, I honestly would recommend this to anyone. If you are already in our Discord, the channel for the full guide on how to do this is in the BP guide channel. So if you do get very unlucky, in the worst case scenario, you can still make a few $100s a month as a baseline. Realistically, in a situation where you depend on scalping profits to pay for rent and to put food on your table, this is just a worst case scenario that you can't afford to have. However, if you do want to make this kind of reselling into a full-time income while having stability at the same time, I'm going to show you exactly how. But first, I want to go on a side tangent regarding the in-store scalpers. You know, all those crazy videos of people fighting and rushing and tripping over each other. I don't know how many of these people are actually scalpers, but I'm just going to assume that it's the majority of them. To some extent, I can understand the appeal of being an in-store scalper. It's very simple. You show up to the store, you camp out, and that's pretty much it. You don't have to learn about different websites or monitors or anything complicated. And it doesn't cost you anything except for time. There's a ton of people in our community that do both in-store and online at the same time. However, if you do only in-store, that sounds like a huge pain in the ass. And where it could get really dicey is if you try to be a full-time in-store scalper. I think this is where things start to take a darker turn. This is where you start to see people turning into the embodiment of the envisioned caricatures that scalpers are known for. My theory as to why some people line up for a whole 24 hours in advance or feel like they have to get into a fight or skip lines or be disrespectful and cause mayhem is because to them, these Pokemon cards are not just cardboard collectibles. In fact, these Pokemon cards aren't even a way for them to make extra money. These Pokemon cards are a means to their survival. Again, if you want to make your money, go ahead and do it. In fact, I encourage it. But there is a way to do it without being so disruptive and disrespectful. I would say doing the complete opposite of being disrespectful and disruptive would actually get you even more wins. One of our best staff members in Polar Chefs, he goes by the name of Muflo. This man is so good at hitting in stores. He pretty much provides 99% of the in-store clips that we use on our Polar Chef social media. And I'm gonna let you in on his secret to be able to hit in-store over and over and over again without having to act all extra. And what he does is he's actually super friendly with everyone. He's friendly with everyone in the line. He's friendly with all of the employees in the store. And because of these interactions, he's been able to make connections with people who go in store on a frequent basis. And therefore, he's made a local network of employees and other collectors or scalpers that will give each other a heads up on what's going on in the stores, whether or not something restocked or not. My other friend, it's Curly, she also does a lot of in-store, and she basically told me the same exact thing. And to me, it seems like this is proof that acting like a maniac is completely counterintuitive.
Oh, move, no. Why are you trying to skip everybody, bro? Move.
I was here in line and you're...
Hey, y'all gotta start this out. Stop skipping, bro.
Hello, I'm at GameStop in Okeechobee. This old dude keeps fucking grabbing me by my hair, throwing me over where I'm in line. I've been here since 6:30. He doesn't want to listen to anything. He's about to get his... Yeah, we have footage. Don't worry. We have footage. We have footage of when I got here.
Just make it
Don't worry,
one per
we'll get
person.
there. No, because I just got dragged by my fucking hand and fucking assaulted. And this is my spot in line.
Stop skipping, bro.
I have footage of me being here. Don't worry, we'll get through all of that.
November has been unbelievably busy. There's been a ton of drops, but recently Pokemon Center has changed something with their anti-fraud measures, and this kind of doubles as anti-bot as well, since this is what allows them to detect orders that are attempting to exceed the quantity limit. And let me tell you, man, these changes, oh come on, please bro, oh my god, I gotta check out. Oh my god. Oh my god. God bless. Come on, do it again. Do it again. I mean, get a checkout again, not get a decline again. Submitting the order. That's not what you were supposed to do. Okay, now this one's gonna... For a couple of these important drops, I have been getting absolutely slammed. My checkout rate has taken a really big hit because of these changes, but thankfully, William gave us the sauce mid-drop, and because of his help, it resulted in me not coming out empty-handed. So I was able to get a couple of checkouts. Oh my god, I got another one to go through. Second checkout. Damn. Just depressing. Overall, very disappointing results, but this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes things are not going to go your way, sometimes you're going to get unlucky, but we just adapt and move on. On the bright side, our ACO botting setup, where we bought on behalf of the members, this seems mostly unaffected. We checked out hundreds of boxes for our community, and yes, it's completely possible that some of the people that we got checkouts for were asleep, at work, or busy, and they're still getting checkouts since we did the botting for them. If you haven't taken the hint yet, basically what I'm trying to say is that if you are an online scalper, you can make very good money doing this while at the same time having a job, or while going to school and having a life, and that way you can have multiple sources of income. I think that's the best way to approach it. However, I will say this, it's not for everyone. Those that will benefit the most from this side hustle are people who have quick access to their phone or computer throughout the day. So for instance, if you're in college, or you're work from home, or if you've got an office job where you basically have access to a computer all the time, then these are the type of people who this is perfect for. Even if you don't fall under that category, if you're at least able to check your phone every so often, then that's fine as well. Because with the exception of the initial learning curve, this doesn't take up a ton of time. Now, you don't have to be on your device for extended periods of time, but rather it's more so about how accessible the device is. So for instance, let's say there's a Costco drop that happens on a random Tuesday afternoon. A surprise drop, meaning it's unannounced and no one knew it was going to happen until it happened. The drop itself is only going to take 15 to 30 minutes, but if you can't access your device during that time period, then you won't be able to participate. But suppose you're doing something very labor intensive, like let's say construction or a warehouse job, then this might be significantly more difficult. Now, I understand that there are going to be some people who are unemployed that pretty much don't choose to be. After all, unemployment rate is going up, the job market kind of sucks, AI is predicted to replace a ton of jobs. I think this side hustle is a great way to make money in the meantime, just so that you have something. But at the same time, you should continue to try and seek employment to make even more money. Now, what about me? It's not too uncommon for people to assume that I'm a full-time reseller, but I've always maintained that to me, reselling is just side money. I do have a job, but nevertheless, reselling is still the focal point. I would say that my main job is creating content like this and running my reselling community, Polar Chefs. And I know some people are skeptical and would ask like, oh, if you make so much money reselling, then why do you have to sell a subscription? And that's because scalping, which is just buying and reselling limited products, is not infinitely scalable. So let's say I invest $300 in the botting setup and I make $3,000 in profit. That's really good. I 10x my money. However, I'm not able to just take $10,000 and turn that into $100,000. That's just not the way that it works. And that's because each person is going to be limited by the number of resources that they have, including the number of credit cards they'll have access to, the number of addresses that they'll have access to, and having several of these are important for bypassing quantity limits. Yes, you can also jig your address to be able to get around these quantity limits, and it actually does work quite well. However, there is a limit to it, because believe it or not, online retailers, they're able to tell the real address behind your jig. Since ultimately botters are limited, then helping and teaching other people to get into the side hustle is fairly inconsequential to my own reselling. Think of it this way. Suppose there's 500,000 items to grab, but my backpack can only fit up to 50 items at a time. It wouldn't really affect me if I help somebody else fill up their backpack, which also holds 50 items. And this opens up opportunities for other services that do not involve reselling directly. So for instance, some botters, if they're skilled enough, they can start an ACO service where they would bot on behalf of other people. Other reselling adjacent products are the bots themselves. If you are technically skilled enough to be able to create your own bot, you can sell it as a subscription model for anyone that wants to use it. Or you start a proxy company or a server company. Or let's say you're an expert in a specific niche of reselling. Then you can sell provider services or staff services to cook groups. And if you don't want to outright just start your own company, you can get paid promoting existing companies that you're already using. And that's something that I actually see a lot of serious botters doing, including myself, which is pretty much affiliate marketing, where they would get paid to help the company generate sales. For example, our company, Polar Chefs, we offer a very generous 30% recurring commission. And if you're good at marketing and advertising or content creation, this can easily snowball into a few $1,000s a month. In this space, many other companies such as bot companies, server companies, proxy companies, and other cook groups, etc., they also have similar affiliate programs. So to summarize, there are a ton of opportunities in this space, but it's key to have multiple sources of income. So those are some ways to make reselling a feasible main gig. But since you can pretty much do all of this from a phone or a computer, except for botting itself, I feel like you actually do need a computer. Yes, you can technically bot from your phone, but I would really only recommend it as a last resort if you don't have access to a computer. But anyways, generally speaking, you can do it from either a phone or computer, and therefore it's still possible to do all of that and still work a job at the same exact time to stack your paper even more if you want. It's all up to you though, but these vlogs showcase my real experiences, my wins, my losses, my struggles, and pretty much everything in between. So it's obvious that you can make very good money doing this, but in my opinion, it should still only be a side hustle. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.